Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Whispering Gentleman. So flick off the lights, sit down in your comfortable chair, and grab a glass of your favorite drink as we dive on in. Flashes by EvCo-Production. The last thing Naomi packed was her camera, a Canon DSLR, or Digital Single Lens Reflex, made to take photography to the next level of quality. It was a full frame as opposed to a 35mm with a 36 by 24mm sensor, meaning it had better image quality and low light capability. The low light capability in particular was what Naomi was after. Her magazine was sending her to a national park to take pictures for a particular piece they planned to feature in next month's issue. Naomi thought there were more unique places they could have sent her. Every other magazine featuring halfway similar content to hers had already done a piece on this park, but she was relatively new to the job and not high enough on the metaphorical totem pole to say so and get anything other than a dirty look. In the end, there was no reason to complain. This was the first of potentially dozens, even hundreds of trips to beautiful locations that she was going to be sent on, and it was all covered by the company's wallet. Before working at the magazine, Naomi had spent much of her college years taking time off to go on road trips and campouts. This always made her father a little nervous, especially the times she went alone. She never had a reason to be nervous. You had just as good a chance of seeing something fucked up while shopping at your neighborhood Walmart as you did while taking a road trip. Naomi didn't think anything fucked up could ever happen at this park though. No place so warm and empty and lovely could possibly harbor anything bodying ill for people. Not even the reptiles seemed scary, and she had never liked snakes or lizards much. The first evening of the trip, she was lying out on a rock like an animal would to sun itself. Only the sun was going down and she was capturing its fall with her camera. Then something appeared by her ankle, and she remained very still so as not to alarm it, yet never actually believed it would bite her. It was a Gila monster, the layman's term for a particular species of venomous lizard native to the southwestern United States. Naomi knew about them because she used to watch a lot of Animal Planet channel as a kid. She snapped a single picture and then opted to leave the rock. She slid her leg out of the Gila's path as slowly as she could, then rode completely away with her camera tucked safely under one arm. She slept in a tent set up beside her white four-door Jeep. Her cot stood a few feet off the ground. Her water bottle, flashlight, camera, and backpack all set within arm's length of the cot. She brushed her teeth while looking at the stars and relieved herself by squatting behind a bush. She never even felt like she was being watched, as is usually the case when one does that, because the park is so wonderfully empty. She had never read any Thoreau, but imagined this kind of relaxing isolation was what he must have written about. Naomi woke up to a brilliant flash of white light. Blinded by the flash and the sleep in her eyes, she groaned and rolled onto her side. She managed to muster the strength to lift one hand to her face and rub her eyes, then finally open them. Habitually, she checked the time on her wristwatch, which had a glow-in-the-dark screen. It was 1:37 a.m. She sat up so she could take a drink from a half-empty plastic water bottle. Water always tasted better in the middle of the night. She was sweating. Even with the sun down, it was still hot here. The flash had been brief and vicious, like lightning. Naomi waited for a rumble of thunder, but none came. There was no sound of rain either, and the air smelled dry, not of a storm. Maybe she had rolled onto her flashlight and accidentally flicked it on and off with her elbow or rib. Naomi did not quite know why, but she remained sitting up for a minute or two, as if waiting for an explanation to come to her. Her whole life, she had been prone to waking up once or twice in the middle of the night, usually needing to go to the bathroom. She had never grown used to it. It was always a little spooky. Humans weren't made to be awake between the hours of 1 and 5 in the morning, when everything that looked alive in the daytime looked dead. No explanation came, and eventually she just laid back down and faded into sleep again, like she would have done anywhere else. She took more pictures in the morning, including one of a funny looking cactus that would end up being her favorite picture to come out of the whole trip. She drove into town to get lunch, then back into the desert again, this time parking at a different spot. The second night, the same flash woke her again. She looked at her wristwatch. It said 1:37 a.m. She was drowsy, but not so drowsy that she didn't instantly think, the exact same time 2 nights in a row? What are the odds of that? She wished desperately that she had not come alone after all. She had goosebumps, despite the warm temperature. The third night, she slept with her flashlight tucked under one arm, like a club. Just as before, the flash woke her, and it seemed somehow brighter than before. She was certain it came from above her. The exact same time 2 nights in a row was weird. 3 nights in a row? Well, that was downright unsettling. Maybe it's aliens, she thought irrationally. Her grandfather had been obsessed with the idea of aliens, believing in them not so much because of the evidence, but because he wanted to. He wanted there to be flying saucers kidnapping people and studying their brains. He wanted there to be preserved corpses of little gray men with black eyes locked away in Area 51. As a child, Naomi had always sat with piqued interest when he talked about his theories. Maybe the all-knowing aliens knew this. Maybe they decided to toy with her all these years later. Maybe they got a laugh for him trying to freak her out. Mission accomplished, saucerman. Screw this. She lit from her sleeping bag. She yanked the zipper on her tent so hard it tore off, storming outside with a flashlight in hand. She looked at the sky and saw nothing but stars. She studied the desert around her and saw only mountains and cacti and one curious prairie dog. Some of the cacti looked eerily humanoid. And the next thing Naomi knew, she was leaving. She had not moved so fast in a long time. She did a piss-poor job of rolling her sleeping bag, and an even worse job of taking the tent apart. She almost left it completely, feeling invisible eyes on her the entire time she worked, tossing the pieces haphazardly into the back of her Jeep. In spite of her hurry, she managed not to forget anything, including her water bottle, flashlight, and especially her expensive camera. She drove away from her camping site with the lights inside the Jeep on, so she could look in the rearview mirror and clearly see the back seat, to make sure nothing was crouching back there. When Naomi returned to her apartment, her roommate was not home. Naomi very much wished she was. Naomi always developed her photos at work in the provided darkroom. She had to share it with other low-level photographers. As she opened the door, a man with a beer belly and a sag in his pants was just leaving. She got out of his way and watched as he dropped his freshly developed pictures, then bent down to retrieve them before she could offer help. Naomi loved her work, and so she always loved the darkroom. She had always been comfortable in any dark area. Even as a kid, she had never needed a nightlight. Yet, the first thing she thought when she closed the door and shut herself in was that she wished it was brighter. As she worked, she took bites from a sandwich in a Ziploc bag, careful not to get crumbs anywhere near the photos. She admired each picture as they developed, letting them do their job and take her back to the wonderful moments she had experienced. The beautiful full moon, the spotting of the Gila monster, the funny-looking cactus. With one hand holding the pictures and the other hand her sandwich, she leaned away from the pictures to take a bite. Her mouth bulged with bread and cheese as she turned to continue studying the newly developed pictures. Crumbs spewed from her lips as she tried to scream. There were 3 nearly identical photos of Naomi in her sleeping bag, dead to the world, her face lit up by the light of a camera flash. Be sure to check out EvCo-Productions on Reddit, linked in the description below, and give them some support. As always, sleep tight and stay terrified.